Hello Year 5, it's me again this week for your introduction to your home learning. I hope you are all enjoying a little bit of a break as it is officially half term and been able to enjoy some exercise and time out in the sunshine. But of course the home learning tasks have continued throughout this week, so I hope you've been able to get on well with those. We know from the children that we're still talking to and keeping in contact with all of you guys just how well you are doing and continue to make us proud, of course, with all the work that you're doing at home. We know how much more difficult it is for you, but we really do appreciate all of your hard work and effort that you're putting in. And of course, it's lovely to be able to see the work that you've still been sending in, and we've been able to put and publish on the celebrations assemblies each week. So please still keep sending all of your fantastic work in. We absolutely love to see everything you're doing at home whilst we're not able to be with you. So please send it to the usual address so that it can be added to next week's celebration assembly. I'm going to talk to you about week 11's home learning this week. So I'm just going to start by returning to the explanation page. So I'm going to open up the explanation task first as always. And I'm going to talk you through just briefly an overview in terms of what we're expecting. And then I'll go into a little bit more detail about some of the other activities that you've got coming up. Okay. So you've still got your SATs bootcamp with regard to maths that you're doing, so please still make sure that you're looking at that. And of course, don't forget to come back to this YouTube channel to make sure that you're looking at the other videos to help you to get more information on the other tasks that come up. So with regard to maths this week then, you are looking at the White Rose website, which you're familiar with by now, for summer term week 6. Okay, the web link is there, so you've got that to follow to find your activities. And I know at times some of the White Rose videos occasionally ask you to collect place value counters or deans or base 10 equipment, which of course isn't going to be as easy at home as you're at school, but please make sure you've got other objects that you can use for counting, Lego bricks or pencils, buttons or something similar, just to help support you with some of the activities. I know also that there are some other links here for you to have a look at to support you in terms of resources that might help you with some of the activities, and I know also that Ms Bridges introduced you to one of the other web links here as well, so please make sure you are having a little look to explore some of the problems in depth. And also you've got the videos that Miss Bridges made about how to use some of the bar model sections for helping support you with your use of multiplication for fractions. Okay, so there are some screen images of how you could use those in your work in the maths folder for this week. Okay, but I'll come back to that in a little bit later. Your English task, I'm really excited because this week I get to introduce you to your new English unit, which is a text unit, a book called There's a Boy in the Girls' Bathroom. Absolutely fantastic story. Really enjoy it myself. One of all of the Year 5 teachers' favourites, which we know that you're really going to enjoy too. So over the next few weeks, we're going to ask you to be looking at the text, which is in an audio version, as well as a PDF version, so that you can read along at the same time as listening, and you'll need to look through the English tasks at your own pace. So you may wish to do a little bit each day over the week, or you may want to go through it all in one go if you so feel like it. But as you work through the PDF, it will tell you when to read one or more chapters at a time, and it will tell you when to stop to make notes or answer some questions. So it is very clear in terms of how you work through the activities. So you mustn't move on further than through the book and read more than what it's asked you to, otherwise the work that's being set won't work well alongside the reading that you're doing. So just check that you've done what each slide asks you before you move on. Each week there's going to be a writing task which is set and related to what you're reading at that point in the story. So there's a link in a minute which I'll show you in our drive to the writing task, and I'll go through that with you in a bit more detail so you know exactly what the writing task is. Just so you know, this week with There's a Boy in the Girls' Bathroom, after you've followed the chapters, the writing task is going to be linked to a diary entry in role as the main character. Okay, so I'll come back to that in a moment to give you a little bit more detail. All the other English-based tasks should be things that you're really familiar with now at home. The reading comprehensions you'll find in the drive. I'll show you just to remind you where they are in a moment. So there's 2 reading comprehensions. Please make sure you're challenging yourselves to look at the level of challenge that you're working on and whether you can progress onto the others that might be more challenging for you for the week. You've got spelling mistakes, spot the spelling mistakes with Mr. Whoops. So that should be the same which you're used to each week as well. You should be familiar with also the SPAGMAT, which includes questions about modal verbs, determiners, word riddles, adverbs, parentheses, and many other things in there which you should be familiar with. And it's just a really good use of revision to keep you guys going at home. Your science task this week then, so if we have a quick look at foundation-based learning, we're beginning a new science topic this week, which is growing up and growing old. So look at the PDF where you'll find instructions to your task. This week, actually, really exciting, includes a quiz. You've got to guess which baby pictures belong to which Year 5 member of staff. So I'm sure all of you will love having a little look at that. And also it's a chance to see changes from birth to age 12 in a video clip. So it gives you the opportunity to have a look at that, thinking about how much you changed during those ages of growing up. Your activity is going to be to create a poster this week about how you've changed since you were a baby, and I'm sure you've changed in lots and lots of ways since then. Okay, so it's growing up and growing old. Your geography task this week then. Last week's reading looked at weather, climate and climate zones. This week's link in the geography folder is based on climate zones. So you've got to read through the document to learn about them in more detail, and then there are 2 tasks for you to complete. So the first one gives you different countries and it asks you to then describe their climate zone, what you might see there, and using your European map work to help you, which you did a couple of weeks ago. And then you can use the internet if you want to help you research some of the answers to that task. And then the task 2 challenges you to think about the positives and the negatives of the different climate zones. So I'll go through that a little bit more with you in a moment. Okay, I'm just going to come out of here and go back to our drive so you can see here all of the folders as usual. Okay, you've got your SPAG activities, you've got your reading comprehension. So one is about Tom Moore. Okay, so Captain Tom Moore, hopefully you've heard about him in the news. And you've got the fable of the 2 doves as well here. Okay, so there's your English tasks that you've got there, and you'll spot the spelling mistakes. I haven't talked to you about your art home learning yet. I'm going to talk to you about that too in a little while. So I'll talk about the foundation topic. So I'll talk about geography with you, and then the art topic, and the science, and then I'll leave the English till last, so that if you want to come back to look at this YouTube video, English will just be at the very end, and you'll know to find me talking about English at the very end there to help you. Okay, so let's have a look at geography just quickly first. Okay, so it says read through this PowerPoint to learn about climate zones, and your task is then on the last few pages. So I don't want to give too much away by going through each of the pages here for you, but you just need to make sure that when you go through, right at the very end is where your tasks are set. So here's the task 1 that I told you about looking at the different climate zones for each of the different countries. So from the information you've got here, and also any research that you do extra on the internet, you can fill in the boxes about describing the weather and what you might expect to see there. And then task 2, if you remember, I asked you, it's thinking about the positives and negatives for the climate zones. So it could be linked to the food that's grown there in that climate, the animals that live there, the weather and how it impacts activities that people can do. So if you can try to list at least 2 things in each box, think about the countries you find in these climate zones to help you. Okay. So that's your geography tasks for this week. Science, I'm just going to click on here because I mentioned briefly for you, but just so you can see where it is, you're growing up and growing old. I'm not going to spoil it too much in this video by showing you the pictures, but they are down here coming up for you to be able to work out which teacher's which, and then your task that follows on from that. Just going to spend a bit of time talking about your art project week this week for your home learning. So I know you've already had an art task set last week, which links to our work in geography to do with volcanoes. So since we've been exploring natural disasters 2 weeks ago in art, I know you looked at representing a volcano in a more of an abstract way. This week we're going to look at creating a picture of a volcano using a mosaic. So I've got some images on here to help you, to give you an idea of the sort of thing we're looking for. First of all, you're going to need to create your outline picture. on the next few pages, you'll find a list of few things you'll need and a selection of pictures to give you some ideas. So here's a list of things that you're going to need. And then here's some examples of volcano pictures to sort of inspire you in terms of what the outline of your picture might look like. And then the way that you're going to actually fill it in, once you've drawn your outline for your, it could be your exploding volcano, is using sort of cut up bits of magazine or boxes, and similar size squares need to be cut out, really, it says here, to be able to create a mosaic of your volcano erupting. So I can't wait to see these personally. I know there are lots of really arty crafty people in school, so please in Year 5 make sure you're sending your work to our address so that we can publish those on our class assembly. Okay. But I'm just going to go back now because I've given you a quick overview of your foundation subjects, and I want to spend a little bit more time just making sure you're okay with your English and your maths. Okay, so here's your maths for this week. Okay, you've got all of your activities in here, all of your lessons for the week as usual. Please make sure you're only going to your answers as soon as you've finished the activities, and that you're using the other resource online to support you as you're working through. You've got your writing task at the top here. So this is one I want to spend a little bit longer making sure you're okay with. Okay, so what you'll see here is you've got some audio clips here. You've got chapter 1, chapter 2 to 4, and chapter 5 to 9. I know some of them sound like quite big chunks of text, but some of them aren't very long, and you've got lots of time to enjoy reading. You can even do some reading outside in the garden if you wanted to whilst you were reading the section of text before working on the activities. And then the one you've got here is the PDF version. I don't know about you, but I'm not as good at just listening. I like to be able to read at the same time as hearing what's being read. So what you can do is you can play one of the audio clips and you can have a look at the section of text and have that open ready in front of you at the same time so you can follow through. What you'll find down here is you've got week 1, boy in the girls' bathroom. This is where you find your activities and writing tasks. So when I click on it and open it up, okay, it goes through the flip for you so you know exactly what you're going to be doing for each section. Okay, so the first thing is you're going to meet the new character, so the main character in the book, which is called Bradley. So your first task, you're asked to do a mind map to find out all the things that you learn about Bradley. Okay, so once you're reading chapter 1, make notes as you're reading and listening so that you can add them to your mind map as you go. Okay, so we're looking at the type of character he is, what he looks like, what he likes, what he doesn't like, and anything anyone else might think of him. Okay, so anything you know about him needs to be added on there. Okay, after listening to the first chapter, there's a few questions for you just to think about, maybe predictions that you might want to make with other family members at home if you want to talk to them about the book that you're reading, if they want to listen with you, and you can jot any other ideas onto your mind map. Then it asks you to listen to chapters 2 to 4. So remember, you must follow in this order because the activities that come up, they are in line with the reading that you've done. So it's a little bit more finding more about this character Bradley, what he looks like, how old he is, how he behaves. Okay, so there's a few bits on there for you to look at the character. The main writing task we want you to do this week, like I said, is a diary entry. So you're imagining that you're this main character, Bradley Chalkers is his name. So you ought to write a diary entry and role as him. So it might be really nice if you make your own diary at home. So it could be just out of some sheets of paper. You can decorate the front of the cover. Once you know a bit more about Bradley, it might give you an idea about how he might decorate it. So if you try to decorate it in role as well, that would be really good. And then you're going to write your first diary entry to record events that have happened so far. So the notes that you take as you read are going to be really important because you can use those in your writing. Okay, so any events of things that have happened up until another character is introduced, which is called Jeff. Anything that's happened to Bradley, anything you think that's significant that he would write in his diary entry that day needs to be written in your first entry. Okay, there is a modelled write for Bradley's diary entry just here for you, so you can see the sort of thing that we might expect you to write and the sorts of events that may have occurred in the chapters you've read up to this point that you might want to include yourself. Okay, so I'll leave that there for you to have a look at once you've done the reading, because I don't want to spoil too much of the story so far. Okay, so as you've not started any reading yet, come back to this later. Okay, so if you scroll down, you've got the checklist for writing a diary entry here as well. So it's written in first person, so you're talking in role as a character. So in your writing, you'll be saying I or me when referring to things. It's in past tense because you're talking about events that have already happened, and those events need to be recorded in chronological order. So all of the things that you've made notes on as you're writing will be really useful for putting back into here. So you've got your key events written, including detail and lots of really good descriptions. Emotive language is important to be able to make sure you're sharing, expressing your feelings in role as that character. So your thoughts and feelings on events that happened in that day. In terms of the sort of style you'll be writing, it's informal, chatty style, because of course you're writing as yourself, almost to yourself, in terms of writing a diary. So the contractions you'll be using should have apostrophes like can't, won't, couldn't, so you can use that more informal language. Okay. Please make sure as well that any work that you've got, you're sending it to our Harrison email so that we can put any of the other work that you've done onto Celebration Assembly. Okay, your last activity in your chapter reading is on there for you as well. Okay, I'm just going to come back to full screen here just to say my final goodbyes, and hope you get on really well this week with the work you're doing. As I said before, we're really proud of all the work that you're doing and really love to see everything that you're doing at home. I know this week the Times Table Rock Stars has gone onto the Celebration Assembly PowerPoint, so please make sure you're looking at that as well so you can see who's on the league table. I know that all of you in Year 5 are doing incredibly well, and also it gives you the opportunity to be able to see how your friends are getting on as well in terms of their challenging themselves and their times tables. That's it for me. Just make sure you stay safe, keep looking after yourself, and working really hard, and I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.